We all have moments that break us. For me, it was the day my own family humiliated me in a cafe. My daughter-in-law sneered, "Why even come here if you can't afford a coffee?" And my son said nothing. That insult could have destroyed me. Instead, it gave me the strength to change everything. If you've ever felt this kind of pain, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, because this story is for you. We all have moments that break us. For me, it was the day my own family humiliated me in a cafe. My daughter-in-law sneered, "Why even come here if you can't afford a coffee?" And my son said nothing. That insult could have destroyed me. Instead, it gave me the strength to change everything. If you've ever felt this kind of pain, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, because this story is for you. Have you ever been insulted so deeply that the words didn't just sting? They broke something inside you? Insults from strangers are like dust. You can brush them off and keep walking. But when the hurt comes from the people you love, the people you gave your life to, it settles in the heart like a stone. It becomes heavy. It changes how you breathe. That day, I was happy for the smallest reason. My son and daughter-in-law invited me to a cafe. It sounds ordinary, but to me it felt special. I don't get many invitations. I don't ask for much, just a little time with them, a seat at their table, a chance to feel like I still belong in their world. The cafe smelled of roasted beans and warm sugar. Soft music floated around us. People laughed, glasses clinked, spoons tapped against porcelain. For a few minutes, I forgot my worries. I looked at my son and remembered the little boy who held my hand when we crossed the road. I thought, this is happiness. This is enough. Then the bell came. My daughter-in-law leaned back in her chair and said, loud enough for the room to hear, "Why even come here if you can't afford a coffee?" The words didn't just cut. They echoed. A couple at the next table went silent. Someone glanced at me, then away. I swallowed, trying to hold my face together. It wasn't only what she said, it was how she said it. Like I was a burden. Like I didn't belong where people smiled. I turned to my son, hoping for one sentence. "That's my mother." But he lowered his eyes. He let the moment pass like it was nothing. His silence was the real insult. I smiled to hide the shaking, to pretend I wasn't breaking in front of them. But inside, I felt a door close. The cafe turned from a warm place to a cold memory dot. They thought they'd reduce me to that moment. They didn't know life had trained me in pain, patience, and quiet strength. Insults can bruise you, but they can also wake you. That afternoon wasn't my ending dot, it was my beginning. My room was quiet, but my heart wasn't. I sat on the edge of my bed and let the tears come. Not because of a cup of coffee, but because love had turned its face away from me. I thought of the mornings when I stitched clothes as the sun rose, so my son would have notebooks. I thought of the nights I walked home in the rain because saving the bus fare meant milk for him. I thought of the times I told him stories so he'd fall asleep smiling. Even when my back ached and my fingers throbbed, motherhood is a story of small sacrifices, a bite given away, a coat shared, a dream set aside. You don't keep score. You don't expect payment. But you hope quietly that when life sits you at a table, you won't be treated like a stranger dot in that cafe. I learned how quickly a person can become invisible. I buried my face in the pillow to muffle the sound. Memory is unkind when you're hurting. It rewinds everything you gave and asks, what was it for? I let the questions pass through me. I let them sting. I let them go. Somewhere between sobs, a stillness arrived. I remembered my mother's words, "When people make you small, do not argue with them. Become bigger than the moment." I wiped my face. I sat straighter. I breathed until the tremble in my chest soft thought it wasn't pride driving me. It was dignity. I did not want to win against them. I wanted to find myself again. I wanted to meet the woman who had carried a family on tired shoulders and still smiled. Where had she gone? She wasn't gone. She was only buried under hurt. I whispered to the room, "You are more than their words." No one heard me, but I did. And for now, that was enough. That night, I slept with the window a little open. The breeze touched my face as if to say, there is still a path ahead. I believed it. Just a little, just enough to begin. I woke with swollen eyes and a steady will. I made tea, sweetened it lightly, and took out a notebook. On the first page, I wrote one line, "I will build something of my own." I started with small decisions. I trimmed every unnecessary expense. I cooked simply and saved the extra. I took more work, from hemming curtains to ironing uniforms to packing sweets for a local shop. My days became long and my nights longer, but I tied my pain to purpose and kept going. I visited marketplaces and watched how good shopkeepers moved, how they greeted customers, how they remembered names, how they made people feel welcome. I noticed the little things, clean tables, a kind word, a glass of water placed without asking. I learned that dignity lives in details. I saved in envelopes labeled rent, inventory, emergency, license. Each note tucked away felt like a stitch in a new fabric I was weaving for myself. Slow, careful, patient work. I was not chasing revenge. I was building a home inside my chest. One afternoon, I met a woman who owned a tiny bakery. She taught me about suppliers, margins, and waste. People buy feelings before they buy food, she said. Make them feel seen. I wrote it down. I underlined it twice. When I was tired, I remembered her words in the café. Not to hurt myself, but to sharpen my focus. I promised myself I would never look at another person the way she looked at me that day. My place, if I ever had one, would be a place where no one felt small. Months passed. My notebook filled with prices, names, and sketches of a little space that smelled like warmth. I found a corner shop available for lease. The walls were tired, the floor was scuffed, but the light came in softly in the morning. It felt honest. It felt possible. I signed the papers with a hand that trembled and a heart that didn't. We cleaned the walls until they stopped remembering old stories. We painted them in a color that felt like sunrise. I polished secondhand chairs until they shone with a humble pride. I placed a small plant by the window and a basket of fresh bread near the counter. The sign outside was simple, my name, nothing more. I wanted the place to speak for itself. The first morning, I brewed coffee before the door opened. The scent rose like a promise. A worker passing by stepped in shyly. "Is it open?" he asked. "It is," I said, and meant it with my whole life. We served slowly at first. A teacher, a tailor, a young couple who split a pastry and laughed softly. I learned faces, then names, then stories. I gave a little extra when I could. I never pushed a bill across the table with a cold hand. People returned not only for the coffee, but for the feeling of being welcomed outward spread. Respect arrived gently, like morning light. Then, one afternoon, the doorbell chimed and I looked up. My son and daughter-in-law stood at the entrance. For a second, time folded, and I was back at that other table holding back tears. But the air here was different. This place knew me. They scanned the room, the warm walls, the full tables, the sign above the counter. My daughter-in-law's face flickered. My son's mouth parted slightly. He recognized more than furniture. He recognized me. I didn't speak first. I didn't hurry. I walked to the counter, wiped a clean cup, and placed it gently on the saucer. My hands did not shake. "Welcome," I said. They sat. The room carried on spoons tapping, quiet talk, the hum of small happiness. I poured their coffee as I had for everyone else, with care, with respect, without measure in my eyes. I did not mention the past. I did not need to. On the way out, my son lingered near the counter. He touched the edge of the polished wood. "Is this yours?" He asked softly. "Yes," I said. "All of it." His eyes searched mine for a long time. So many words lived there: apology, shame, love that forgot itself and wanted to remember. I didn't rescue him from the silence. Some truths grow best there. They left quietly. The bell chimed again. The room exhaled. I returned to the counter and refilled the sugar jar. The work felt lighter than it had in months. People think victory is loud. Mine was not. It came in small, steady moments. A regular waving through the window, a child giggling at the foam heart on her milk, an old man saying, "This place makes me feel young." Every kindness was a stone in a new foundation. I didn't write speeches for the past, and I didn't keep a courtroom in my head. I released them because I needed my hands free to build. Forgiveness, I learned, isn't always a hug. Sometimes it's simply choosing not to carry the weight anymore. They had mocked me once for not affording a coffee. But ownership isn't about money alone. It is about the right to define a space, to choose its spirit. In my cafe, no one is looked up or down at. We meet at the same height, cup to cup, eye to eye. I kept a quiet rule. If someone came in with heavy shoulders, they would leave lighter. I trained my staff to greet by name when possible, to offer water before questions, to notice the small things: a loose button, a tired face, a birthday alone. Dignity lives in attention. One evening, as the light softened, I stood by the door and watched the room breathe. Laughter rose and fell. Chairs scraped softly. Life moved without pushing. I touched the sign with my name and felt a calm I hadn't known in years. I had not defeated anyone. I had discovered myself. My son visited again, this time alone. He didn't sit. He stood at the counter, twisting his ring. "Mom," he said, voice low, "I'm sorry." I looked at him, really looked, and saw the boy I raised behind the man he became. I nodded. "Thank you," I said. We didn't review the old wound. We let the tea steam between us. Sometimes healing is two hands around one warm cup. That night, I turned the sign to closed, swept the floor, and whispered into the quiet room, "Thank you for giving me back to myself." This story is not about coffee. It is about the kind of wealth you carry inside: dignity, patience, and the power to begin again. If you have been mocked, if you have been made to feel small, listen to me. You do not need to shout to become whole. You do not need to win arguments to win your life back. Work in silence. Save what you can. Learn what you must. Build where no one expects a garden. And let the flowers be your answer. I once believed love meant being accepted at someone else's table. Now I know love can also mean building your own and keeping a chair open. Just in case someone finds their way back, the woman who walked out of that cafe in shame is not the woman who stands behind this counter today. I didn't become harder. I became truer. I didn't become rich in money. I became rich in meaning. If you are at your breaking point, take a breath. Write one line in a notebook. Put one coin aside. Ask one question. Take one step. Small steps taken daily turn insults into seasons you survived, and one day, you may unlock a door and realize the room beyond it carries your name. You'll breathe, you'll smile, and you'll understand. You didn't need revenge. You needed a place where no one, especially you, would ever feel less again. That is victory. That is peace. And that is yours. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps these stories reach more people who need hope and courage.